Hello everyone, this is Helen H. and welcome to my channel, Moss Cottage. I hope you all are doing terrific today. I wanted to do something today that I've seen a lot of people doing on YouTube. I don't know who started it, so I'm sorry, I don't know who to credit, and I've seen several people doing this. It's called reverse collage, and I'm sure that you all have seen the videos on how it's done and everything, but in case you haven't, I'll just give you a real brief description, and this is going to be part one of a part two video set because we're going to have to make the collage and then we're going to have to do the rest. So what reverse collage is, and just in case you don't know, is you make a kind of a master board, a collage master board. Then when it's completed, you're going to turn it over and then you're going to cut it into whatever useful pieces you might want. You might want to cut some into journaling cards. You might want to cut some into tags. You might want to cut some into belly bands or bookmarks, whatever you want. But you're not going to look at the front. You're going to do it from the back, so you have no idea what's going to come out on each piece. And then you can use the pieces as they are, or you can decorate them further. So I'm going to go ahead today and just chit chat with you, and we're just going to get some collage down. What I'm going to use for my substrate is these large sheets. I'm only going to do one on camera actually. These large sheets of scrapbook paper from a book. I never use these ones that are for scrapbooking because I don't scrapbook. So I figured it's got a nice blank side, so if I do journaling cards or tags, it's nice and blank on the back. I can either stamp some lines on it, or people can just journal on it that way. So I'm going to be using my little desk folder of vintage papers. That's one of the things I'm going to be using. And then some way back, I know it was Lollapalooza who gave this idea about buying these pencil holders and putting them on the big rings and then keeping your ephemera in them. So I'm going to be using some ephemera from this book. And then this book, I will also be going to use some, this is just paper, different colored papers, and I might put some of these in for accent colors. I have mine divided by color, but, we're going to use some of this. I think I'm going to keep these over here, but we're going to start possibly with just putting down some more basic papers on the underside. So I think I will go ahead and use some book page and just get started. And I'm not going to overthink this because I think most of the thinking is going to come the next time I make a video, when I cut it into pieces and when I look at what turns out, how I'm going to use those pieces, or if I'm going to decorate them further or whatever, what have you. So I'm just going to be gluing some papers down. So if you want to journal along with me or collage along with me, or if you fussy cut, now is a great time to fussy cut because you really don't have to pay attention too much to what I'm doing here. But collaging and gluing stuff down is always fun. It's one of my favorite things to do, and I think I've mentioned that in videos before. Now, one thing I do know from this, from watching other videos, and also from collaging myself, not collaging myself, but doing collage myself, is that you don't want to make it too terribly fussy. Because then if you want to, after you've cut it out, this is just a piece of paper that I stamped off the edges, and I'm going to actually use that. It was looks like it was a brick type stamp, and I was just stamping off the edges, but we'll use some of this. You don't want to make it too fussy, because if you want to add additional focal points or maybe sentiments or something when you're making your cards or tags or whatever, you just don't want it to be too terribly fussy is all. So I'm just going to stick some of this stuff down here. I might basically make a plain-ish background like this, and then put some colors and a few focal points, cutouts like some flowers or something on top. And so there's something there interesting that we can see when I cut it apart. And like I said, I can't tell you who started this. I can't even mention who all I've seen do this, because I've seen many people do this, and the results are super fun. So if you haven't done this before, you might want to give it a try. And if you want to see some other people besides me doing this, just in the YouTube search, just put in reverse collage, and that should get you a whole list of people who have done this. So we just got back from the cabin today. We had a wonderful time, as always. It did rain quite a lot while we were up there. I think we had one whole day of rain, and it was kind of torrential rain, but we were able to keep the doors open and everything. The only thing, last night we had a thunderstorm come in the evening, and the temperature dropped rapidly, and it got so chilly I did have to close one of the doors, because I was like, oh my gosh, it dropped like to 60 some degrees like fairly quickly. So you see, guys, I'm not doing, there's no rhyme or reason. I'm just putting papers down here. And if you make a lot of these, you know, this is a great way to use up some of your scraps. You know, if you've got colored papers and such that you want to use up your scratch, make a super colorful. Maybe I will make a super colorful one also. I'm not going to do it on the air right now, because you know, I think one is enough for you to get the idea of what I'm doing. But I might do another colorful one, and then when I cut them apart, come to the video where I'm going to cut them apart, I could show you the two different styles and what they look like. I'm making a huge, ginormous mess here because my paper folder is a disaster. Okay, I'm just going to use some of this little pattern paper here. You know, this is just the instruction sheet for a pattern, a sewing pattern. I think this one is for little girls' clothes. So I'm just going to stick this on. And you know, because you don't know what's going to happen or which way it's going to go, I guess you really, I never paid attention. You could really put things any direction, because you're not going to be sure what it's going to look like. So here's some yellow graph paper. I'm just going to stick that on. And like I said, I'm just going to pretty much try to fill this background. I need to make sure, this is a very large piece of paper, and I'm working on a very small area. My desk is super small, because the things I think that are necessary, and really the things I do use a lot, are on my desk, and that they take up so much room. And I can't really go vertically because I'm in front of a window, and I don't want to block my window any more than I already have. Just because it doesn't look good from the outside, and I like to look out. My neighbor across the street has a really nice yard. Oh, here's a piece of something. We can use this. See, guys, just scraps. Just scraps. Great way to... And you can use whatever adhesive you want. I like my glue stick, and, you know, to me, this is not... going in, you know, any art gallery or anything, so I'm not going to be too fussed about it. I'm just going to, oh, I said that was a piece of paper. Actually, I think that was a piece of an index card. It feels a little bit more thick than just paper. All right, and what else do I have here? And I'm even just using some blankish pieces here, because, like I said, I'm going to use the colored pieces in a couple pictures, and we'll see how this is going to turn out. Let's put that here. It's got a little bit of writing on it. I think this is the back of a vintage card. Some of this paper's crumbling there. It's got the copyright and everything on it, and I can't read Roman numerals, so I'm not sure what the date is. I usually, if I have to deal with Roman numerals with like antique books and stuff, I use a cheat thing on Google, where you can just put in what the letters are, and it tells you what the year is. I know a little bit, but not a lot. This is a piece of an old zip code book. And it tells you the zip codes and where they are. Yep, there we go. Oh, so, okay, so when we were at the mountains, signs of fall coming is those, I don't know what they're called, but they're spiders that make the very fine little webs, like very fine, like almost like silk threads. There were quite a few webs like that in our front on some of like the blackberry, where the blackberries are and everything. There was some of those webs this morning, and I could see them because, like I mentioned, it had rained last night, and so everything got wet, so it really pronounced the webs this morning. I could see them. They were like little jewels. But yeah, my mom always told me that, she's German, that that was always one of the first signs of fall, were those thin little spiders' webs. But we did get a project done up there. We stained the front steps and the little balcony to the front door, and then the back steps. We got most of we got the whole flat surfaces stained, and the top railing, anything that was facing up, we got stained. I didn't get all the spindles stained because there's quite a lot, but I mean, I can do that next time I go up there. But okay, I think that's upside down, but that's okay, because like I said, we're not sure how this is going to look and which way we're going to use the pieces when we're done. But we just got that finished, and maybe an hour later we had that really big thunderstorm, and the stain said 2 hours, but it was fine because the stairs were warm from the sun, and when it rained, the rain just beaded right up on the stain, so it was okay. It didn't soak in or anything, and it didn't wash the stain off, so it was not a big deal. But anyway, so I like to get projects like that done. Here's a little piece of textured paper. This is just a little piece of brown paper. I think maybe this was a little piece of packing paper from like an Amazon package or something. So I'm just going to put that down. So you see on this one, I'm using pretty neutral colors now, but I'm going to be putting some color on the top here. But I just thought I wanted to give myself something on the bottom. And that's why this little envelope I'm picking from over here, this little envelope, is all neutral papers, and most of them are vintagey papers. Oh, here's a little piece of book page. We can use that. If your paper is very super brittle, like some of this paper is, you might want to actually just put the glue on your project and then press the paper down versus trying to get it onto the paper, because you might rip it. Like this paper from this zip code book here is super, I've already used that enough, is super brittle, and so is this. This is like a receipt. It's super brittle, so I'm going to go ahead and put the glue on the paper, or on the page itself, the substrate, let's say, whatever you're going to be using. But I think this is a great way to use those big sheets that you don't use from scrapbooking. And I know, if you have a 12 by 12 frame, it would be great to use the big pieces to frame. Some of them are really pretty. They have nice inspirational sayings on them, and it would be really pretty to frame. But I'm not interested in this particular. This dark brown paper here, by the way, is this was from the back of an old picture. If I get old pictures like at the auction and stuff that I'm going to sell in the shop, I usually reback them. I want to make sure the back doesn't have any holes in it and that the wire is good and sturdy. I don't want to sell anything cheesy that's going to fall apart or something, when people try to hang it on the wall. So I'm looking now, and I think I just have one little bare spot right here, but I'm not going to worry about that because we're going to put some colors on now. So I'm just going to kind of gather this plain paper up, and look at the mess I made. Look, all this mess has to fit. Look, all of this, I got to fit back in this folder. Gee, this is why I love cleaning up after I craft, right? What a mess. Oh, here's just a cute little piece. I'll use this piece just because it's here. I'm going to just put this on the floor and hope Holly doesn't decide to play in it. This is just a little piece of handwritten letter, and I'll just put it there. Okay, so most of my paper now is covered. Okay, we've got the nice black blank on the back and then this side. Now I thought I would get some colors and we'll just use some of these here. And I think maybe I want to use, I think for this one, botanicals for the flowery part. So I'm going to use some colors that are some colored pieces of paper that are, see, like, okay, no, that's a little bit hard. I was going to say that would be fun, but it's a little bit hard. Okay, here's a piece of, this is a piece of scrapbook paper. It's double-sided, but I like the other side, so I'm going to use that. And I can't think about it. I just have to slap it down, because if you think about it, you know, then you're going to start, oh, well, I'll cut the tags here and there. No, you can't think about it. You just have to kind of go for it and put the stuff down and not think about where you're going to cut them. It's also more relaxing that way if you don't have to stress about how everything's going to go and blah, blah, blah. So I'm just putting these down, and this is such a good way, like I said, to get rid of some of your scrap papers. Here's a pretty floral. This is double-sided. I want to say this might be a crepe paper. It kind of looks like crepe paper, but I can't say that for sure. So I'm just going to put that down. Cute. That. See how it just adds a little bit of color? I mean, now if you wanted just to do the vintage, if you had a project like a vintagey journal or something and you just wanted the vintage, that's fine too. You can do that. You know, you can certainly plan that much that, you know, I only want certain colors, because you don't want to mess up your journal using like bright tags with an all neutral colored journal or something. All right, so I'm just doing that like this. And what else we got here? Let me see what other colored papers we have. And then we're just going to put some flowers on and call it a day. Maybe we'll pick one or two more papers here. Let's see here. I'm picking from this here. Well, maybe we'll use some pieces of this one. This is a nice botanical here. Let's use some of these smaller ones here. This is a two-sided. We're going to use some of each side, I guess. And then it looks kind of different. Let's see where. Here. I like to just kind of overlap a couple pieces of paper with my paper, because then it kind of blends it together a little better. But if you want everything lined up, that is up to you. We'll be excited to see what this is going to look like. Like, kind of just like overlap it like that. All right, so now we have this. So now I think that's enough of the background paper. What I want to do now is maybe put just a couple flowers on it. These were cut out of a field guide or magazine or book or something. I'm just going to put a couple flowers on, and that's it, because when I cut them apart and decide how I'm going to use them, I might want to actually add some more. But I will go ahead and put some on here. This one's kind of difficult. It's got a lot of little leaves sticking out here. I want to make sure I get them all down. Not with that much glue, Helen. That was a big glob. Get rid of that. Oh my goodness. Okay, there we go. There we go. And I'm just going to use a whole bunch of different ones in different colors. Of course, some might just be pieces by the time I've cut this apart. You know, I might just have a very little piece. Then the fun will be, how do you salvage that? Let's go ahead and put them at a different angle. Let's go ahead and just put them everywhere. And make it a little more interesting when we cut it apart. Oops. Like this. This is fun, guys. But I think I've mentioned in many of my videos before, if you're newer to my channel, that gluing paper to paper is one of my favorite things, because it is so relaxing. There's no stress, and especially a project like this where you have no idea what it's going to be. You know, probably more stressful for me will be the next video when I cut it apart and I have to kind of make heads or tails of what I've made. That might be a little more thinking involved. I don't know, but we're just going to see. We're going to see. So I'm just going to be gluing a whole bunch of these flowers down. And like I said, even with the flowers, if you know you're doing like a lavender journal, I know some people do color themed journals and stuff, then by all means, you know, just use lavender flowers, but put them, you know, in different directions, in different places, you know, so that it's going to be interesting when you cut the masterboard apart. See, these are a little bit tricky. You got to be careful with the glue because of all the little leaves and petals and stuff that are sticking up. We're just going to do 1 or 2 more and then we'll call it a day. And then the next video we will be cutting it apart, looking at what it is and seeing how we can further embellish and or save, probably save the artwork. Okay. But I do want to make sure that there's either colored paper or some florals or something on each piece. So, you know, you don't want to be too skimpy unless you just want to make the collage with the background and you know, work your way up from there. But I really want to have some of these flowers or something, parts on each one. I could probably put one more over here. Ooh, this one's pretty. I think this is an iris. I'll put this one down. I do have a paper pad that I purchased, or one of those kits. I think it's actually more of a kit than a paper pad, but it comes with paper, stickers, that kind of, that's all purple. And I think I got 2 of those kits at Tuesday Morning a long time ago. And I've never done anything with it, but I see purple flowers and stuff, and I'm always like, oh, I need to save that for the purple journal. Well, if you saw my last video, I made those. I'm starting to make some journals for my craft fair coming up in November, and maybe I will make some of those, that type. Oops, let me just lift this and move it a tiny bit down. That type of journal with the clear bags, sleeves, and make some purple, just lavender journals, because I know a lot of people love the color purple. Was that a movie, The Color Purple, or am I making that up? That sounds familiar. I haven't seen it, I don't think, but I think The Color Purple was a movie. Alright, let's just go wild and stick this one completely upside down. Okay, that's it. I think I'm going to call it quits there, because like I said, you don't want to get too terribly fussy, because if you do, then it will be really hard to salvage it when you cut it apart. I'm not going to do anything more with this except let this dry. Next time we'll be cutting this apart, and I think I will make another one right now quickly off camera using really bright colors so that you can see the difference of what they're going to look like after we cut them apart. So